Man, I'm having too good of a time right now.
It's really hard to find a good contractor.
It was unknown how much money we were going to make and how successful it was going to be.
A lot of the work that you do could outlive you.
Sometimes, like, the challenge is what makes it fun. Do what you love because it's like your space. Yeah, this is
Awesome.
exciting, man. Definitely my first podcast. See how it goes.
Yes, I love first timers. Abe, thanks so much. Welcome to Craft Talk. We've been talking about doing this for a little bit now, so
I know.
I'm I'm
I'm
glad we
glad
get
we're
to do
doing
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess to give people an idea of what you do, I don't know, is contractor too broad of a term? You specialize in so many different things. How would you describe what you do?
That's a good question, because yeah, a lot of times it is contractor, but if I had to describe it myself, just like most basic, I would say like tile guy is like what most accurately describes me at the moment, but I am dabbling in, other areas of construction and then obviously somewhat of real estate. So always evolving, always changing, but right now in this moment, laying tile all day, doing lots of tile jobs. I
Yeah.
do a lot of bathroom remodels, but it's really always focused around tile. So I would say tile guy.
The stuff underneath the tile and like the framing and the waterproofing,
You know,
that's just part of the job. But like the thing that makes
yeah,
you the most excited seems to be like the tile.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was laying tile today, and I was like, man, I'm having too good of a time right now. I'm just getting paid to just hang out and lay tile and just like be artistic. Like it's cool. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it right now.
For people who are watching this on video, I could see in the background you have some,
Oh
I
yeah,
assume is
yeah.
your tile work.
Yes, yeah. It's all my tile art, and
Yeah.
my favorite thin set was a great holder for some of it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, any leftover thin set you just use, or you have a specific
Oh
one that you
yeah.
use?
I try to use Schluter thin set all the time. It's rated for most applications, so it's just always good to have. I stock up, buy 10 at a time. Others have some limitations to the others, so it's good to
Gotcha.
have a
It's
overall.
more versatile.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, to
Heck
give
yeah.
people a little bit of background, how we connected, I don't even remember if I've told you how I found you. A few years ago, we were looking for homes, so we were like hitting up a bunch of open houses. There was a house that had this gorgeous bathroom. I think it
Oh, I think you
highlighted.
did tell me this.
Oh, okay. I think it highlighted a
Yeah.
couple of things. I was like, one, I'm definitely getting old because I'm like appreciating this tile. Like,
I
who
know
am
the
I?
feeling.
Like being so like enamored with the tile work. And then two, just like the quality of work, it stuck out to me to the
Yeah.
point where I asked
Nice.
the real estate agent, "Hey, who
Oh,
did the
wow.
tile for the bathroom?" And I think he said your name, and I somehow saved your
Nice.
Instagram, and I
Wow.
eventually reached out. You've done two or three projects at our house now. I found out just like how knowledgeable you are about everything in like construction and renovation. You're a relatively young guy for someone in the trades. Right now, you're doing mostly tile, or you enjoy the tile, but you know pretty much everything else that comes with it. Where did that all come from?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I do feel like I am like a sponge, and I really do soak in things well when I do see them and learn them. They kind of solidify fast. Plus, starting from a young age, when I was 16 and then I'm 26 now, I'm almost 27. So that's, roughly 10 or 11 years. Going through like a lot of jobs with unique people and companies. I haven't really been like at one company for that full 10 years. I kind of jump around companies and individuals and how they work and what works best and what doesn't work. Definitely been around that a lot too, with
Sure.
construction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mistakes that happen, and that's when you really learn the most. So that helps out, and just not having like too much pressure on it, allowing yourself to experiment and go through trial and error really helps. And I think I can attribute, the most to it.
What kind of piqued your interest in doing this type of work? Was this something like even younger that you were like a builder, like loved Legos, like something like that?
Yeah.
Like, what was the thing that kind of made you be curious about it?
That's a good question. I just like the freedom of the whole construction industry and small business owner. You can really be in control with it and then also have like a lot of help from the individuals, the clients or mentors who are in it. I could just work when I wanted to, I could charge how much I wanted to. I could do what I want to in the, construction. That is a big thing too, like the money was good and that's what I was after at that time. And that was the one thing that was like providing that income that I was like striving for. And then
Yeah.
also, the freedom of it. So it was really feeding like multiple things I was after just fell right into place. And it
Wow. So
just,
at 16,
yeah,
you were already like, I'm gonna grind
yeah,
this out, try to get,
yeah.
what
No,
did you have specific
absolutely.
goals? Like, were you trying to like save up for a car or like, or were you just trying to build
Well,
something?
yeah, no, I was specifically at a job at the time, making like 750 an hour, and then someone offered me like $10 an hour cash, and that was that moment where I was like, wow, this has like so many opportunities in it. Like I gotta quit my job and just start doing this,
Yeah.
and it's instantly making more money. So I was all about it
What
from
was
that
that
point.
first, what was that first gig? Like, what were you
It was
doing?
raking leaves. I was
Okay.
raking leaves all day, and that turned into mowing the grass, installing docks, painting walls, epoxying like floors, not like the new epoxies that you see, but just like polyurethane epoxy over the floors, moving lots of furniture. So I ended up starting a dock installation service after doing that for a couple years. It turned out all right. It didn't last forever, but there's just so many avenues, got created just from that one client. Started raking leaves.
Yeah. So were you hired by a company to rake leaves, like a landscaping company, or was it just like a client that wanted you to do that type of work?
It was just a client, which technically she was a company. It was one individual who owned three lake houses like on Glen Lake, right next to the Sleeping Bear Dunes. So she
Okay.
was running like an Airbnb business before it was really popular. So technically it was a business. At the time I didn't know that. So I felt like an individual, just, one-on-one connection with a client. That led to a lot of work through that one client, and it just was a good connection for that first connection because they
Wow.
just had so much work to feed me.
Who would have thought like the domino effect of that of like it
Yeah,
would seem as though like raking leaves is just kind of like, oh, raking leaves, but
right.
looking back now, probably 10 years later, going back to that
Yeah,
moment, it's like, wow, raking leaves turned into this and then to that and then to the other.
right.
And now you're like doing all of this type of work. Since you mentioned you were kind of a sponge, raking leaves, I mean, you tell me, what's the craft of raking leaves? I mean,
Yeah.
what's the technique in raking leaves that people don't know
Oh
about? Like,
man,
is there anything that you
there
could share?
you gotta have a technique. You can
Really?
significantly improve that efficiency with just rake it into a pile, onto a tarp, pull the tarp, dump instead of just trying to like rake everything with the rake into the pile. You can upgrade to like a lawnmower with a tarp behind it, those kinds of things, or like a tractor with a leaf pickup like attachment. But
Hmm.
for me, with all the jobs that I did when I was young, it was just getting a good sized tarp, rake it onto that tarp, fold it up, and just pull it over. And
Just
I
be,
got
yeah,
I got that
efficient.
craft down. I was I
Yeah.
was I was going to town. It was weeks of just raking leaves.
Yeah.
And then, I did it for other clients too. So I had that method down.
It is.
That's for sure.
It's not a. It's no joke.
Yeah.
One of our first rentals here in Michigan, it was surrounded by trees. Our first fall, I was like, "Oh, I can do this, dude." Ain't no
Yeah.
way I was raking that
Yeah.
many leaves. And then it's like, what do I do with all these
Right.
leaves? It was just too much. So eventually, I had to call someone, and they ended up just mulching it like super, like
Oh
fine.
yeah.
Whatever I did for like 8 hours, it didn't look like it touched it at all. But
Yeah.
this guy just like went back and forth for like an hour or something like that, and it was all set. When did you start getting into like homes? Like when you started doing work on homes?
The first work I did in homes was just moving furniture a lot. The first work that I was doing on homes, was demolition work. Just like tearing stuff out, doing trash removals. So that was actually a really good like avenue to like get into doing like the actual construction work or the finish work because you have to know how to like take faucets apart, take outlets apart. You see how things are built just by tearing them apart.
Yeah.
And vice versa, installing things, knowing how things go together, it's a lot easier to take them apart that way. So after I did a lot of finish work and I went back to doing some demo jobs, it was night and day. It was so much easier
Wow.
just really knowing exactly how things are put together. I almost started a construction company called Precision Demolition because I felt like so much better at it, you know.
You just knew how it was all put together. I never thought of it that way. So you first started off moving furniture and then demo and then you did finish work and then it just like stepped your game up with the demo.
Yeah.
When you were doing demo before you cracked the code a little bit, was it a lot of guesswork or was it just like a lot of muscling things out?
No, yeah, there was a lot of guesswork, trial and error, just seeing how things start falling apart, start breaking, see where. It's just like lots of probing, like let's try this, let's see how this goes. We'll pry from here, and eventually you just hit that sweet spot. It comes apart really easy and a lot more efficient with things. And then, like I said, once you really know how it goes together, you just come right in. You're like, all right, just pop it right here, and the whole thing will fall apart. It's crazy.
Did you work with people that were helping you learn this stuff, or were you just like observing them going, what are they doing? Because, some people don't like to share their
Yeah,
secrets or whatever. So I
right.
don't know, like, what type of mentorship did you have while you were like learning all this stuff?
So there's a wide variety of like mentor types, good variety of both ends of the spectrum where we had some people I worked with like really wanted to teach me things and were really open to showing their methods, and other people, typically people who were more stressed out, in a rush, they didn't really want to take any time to teach the younger generation like
Yeah.
how the best way to do it. That usually wasn't the best type of mentor to learn from anyways, but it was really refreshing to run into those type of professionals who were really open to teaching me how to do things really well and their methods. And the majority of people were like that. So I did learn a
Yeah.
lot from each type of client that I ran into. Definitely
Yeah.
attributed to a lot of my success.
Do you have any examples that you could think of where initially you thought this thing was like so hard and you couldn't figure it out, but then someone showed you like a technique that like completely changed it for you?
There were a lot of moments where I was in that situation where I was like, I just need a little like push of information to like get this going. And that's where YouTube came in. And I was just
Mm,
like, from there, YouTube University got me to where I am today. And I think that's the way I learned too, is just watching someone do something and then I can do it. I don't really need them to tell me how to do it or read about it. I just need to watch someone do it or watch them through a video doing it too.
yeah.
So,
Even just like the getting the right tools. What's a go-to, a must-have tool in your like it's always on you?
oh man, there are so many tools that I must have. That impact screw gun or
Yep.
impact drill, because doing anything with a handheld takes way longer. So that impact always stays with me and always fully charged. Man, an angle grinder has been my best friend for a long time. That's been like a cheat code more than like something that must be there
Mm.
for certain things. It's just like, well, an angle grinder, we'll cut this in like 10 seconds.
So like an angle grinder, what would you use that on in a pinch?
With me being, in tile, I cut a lot of tile with it, and a lot of skilled
Oh, okay.
cuts. And when I was in just doing handyman jobs, any type of metal you can cut with an angle grinder. So when you're just got a stubborn piece of metal in a weird spot, you can put a cutoff wheel on that,
Yeah.
just cut it right off, just being careful. And then you can sand things down with it a lot faster than with a normal sander if you get
Oh.
a sanding disc on there. Now that I'm doing lots of tile work too. Cutting a hole in tile is a lot easier with angle grinder, but a lot of people don't think about it because you would think
Yeah.
a drill
Right.
first. But the angle grinder has a higher RPM than a drill, so it's a lot quicker.
How do you get a small hole with an angle grinder?
So it has that disc will go on, it'll screw
Uh-huh.
onto. And if you take that disc off, they make attachments that screw onto there and
Oh,
then narrow down into like a
gotcha.
diamond bit. Yeah, it looks a little weird on there. You
Yeah.
you wouldn't really guess to see that setup when you think of an angle grinder.
I did like a little small little tile project that I'm not going to show you because I'm too embarrassed.
Yeah.
Um, but
Guess
I
that's
like
somewhere.
I had to exactly I had to drill a hole into it and so I can put like hardware or
Oh
whatever
yeah.
on it. I had to get like the diamond bit, the drill bit, and starting it was so hard because it kept
Oh
slipping
yeah.
on me. Is that
Oh
just
yeah.
common?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's the toughest part is getting started for sure. They
Oh,
have actual like bits to just get you started. And then
okay.
they have like stickers that will stick onto the tile so you can't wobble out of
Okay.
that section that you're trying to get. So they have stuff just for that because it is difficult. And then two, if it's in a spot where everyone's going to see it, if you walk off onto the tile,
It's great. Yeah.
it'll ruin it. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of just had to go for it. It was a little bit off. I wish it was just like slightly like in a different spot, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So throughout like the decade, you're basically jumping around doing different types of work.
hmm
Eventually, you must land on tile.
Yeah.
How far into that journey does that happen? When did you start first falling in love with tile?
I first fell in love with it probably like at year 7, but I started
Oh,
doing it probably around year 5 when I first started doing some tile work. But those first couple jobs, like the one I specifically remember the most was cleaning up the tile after someone grouted it and didn't clean the grout off. So I had to come in and clean and polish all this tile and get all this grout off. And that was a very difficult job. So I didn't like tile from that.
so the
But
grout just completely dried?
oh yeah, yeah, and I came back the next day after he grouted it and let it set up on the tile. He said he had an emergency and just had to
Oh.
leave. But after I did that, he did another bathroom and did the same thing. And he was like, "Well, you did so good on the last one. I figured you'd be able to handle this." I was like, "Okay, you must just have done this to me, like on
Yeah, is this a
purpose. I don't know
test?
what's going
Yeah, yeah.
on." Yeah, clean that one off too. And I was like, "Oh, I really don't like tile now. Like, didn't like it." So after a while, it was when I was flipping houses and doing all the bathrooms and super nice finished spaces and just seeing how much the tile really added to the project where I was like, I really like this part.
What is it about tiling that you gravitated towards? There's a lot of crafts in the industry where, furniture building and like the really
hmm
fine intricate work and that kind of stuff. You seem to really take on to tile. Is there anything specifically about it that is fun? Like why is it fun?
Well, I mean, it's tricky to get all the details. It's something where you can really like dive into and or get sucked into. 8 hours go by and you're like, wow, I was having fun that whole time. Working on all these details and then just like stepping back and seeing your work and seeing like how it adds so much to the space. Like it can add texture, it can add color, it can be the main focal point of that space. And it's just like I'm the guy who did that. I think that's one of the main things is just like seeing how much it can add to the space, really.
Yeah.
And like,
Absolutely. It completely changes the space and you did our kitchen floors and
oh
our
yeah,
kitchen backsplash. Those floors,
yeah,
the intricate details on those
yeah,
floors, it's amazing like watching you do that work, figuring out a way to keep it all straight with all of the different
oh yeah,
patterns while
yeah. That was a tricky
the
one.
the house itself isn't square. you
Right,
know.
right.
So you got to deal with that problem, which I'm sure in
No,
every
yeah,
house it's like nothing's square.
yeah. Some are worse than others, but I really liked your kitchen floor project. That was a fun tile to work with, even though it was like really tricky. Sometimes like the challenge is what makes it fun for me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I like how that one turned out. That's a cool floor for sure.
Are you into jigsaw puzzles?
Ironically, like not too much, but my
Okay.
fiance is, so I do them. But I do like other puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles. Like aren't like the type of complexity I'm looking for, I
Yeah.
guess.
I was just wondering just because tile itself has that same kind of vibe of like getting lost in the pattern and like
Right?
trying to find the right pieces or whatever, but maybe it's a different type of challenge. And the impact
Yeah,
of tile work, like you said, most likely, right? Like a lot of the work that you do could outlive you,
yeah. I
which is
hope so.
crazy to think about. Like,
Yeah, it is.
until like someone decides to move and goes, "Oh, I want to change this up," which how
Right.
often does that happen?
I think most people move around 7 years is the average where people will move. I aim to have my work last in the home for at least 30 years. It's like what we're aiming for, like the minimum to be, and then, up from there. But just because people are moving doesn't necessarily mean that they're renovating.
Sure, that's true. How does like trends work in the tile world or even just in construction in general? Because it's such like a it goes in and out in phases. Like, have you already noticed any cycles of trends that are like going out of style, or new trends that are coming in that's like, oh, this is going to be here for a while?
Those large format tiles was very new to me. That was a trend that I saw really come in fast and catch on. That wasn't necessarily around what I was seeing before it really came in. And then that was also, a big learning curve for a lot of installers. And then I also saw white and grays come in, and then now we're almost starting to see a lot just like color in like those beige and creams coming back,
Okay.
which is cool. And it makes sense too. You can kind of see why trends come and go. With white, it looks very new and clean, but you're living in the space, and you see why people got away from it because it gets dirtier faster. And then
Mm,
creams and beiges, they were looking outdated, the types of beiges and creams, but now they're feeling more like earthy and homey and natural. When you get a little bit of dust or dirt on them, it's not really like anything that's out of place as much as it would be right on a piece of white. Styles and trends are coming and going, and what people are kind of like thinking about them. The longer you're around it, the nicer it is for when people ask my opinion about what style or what color should I do for my bathroom. You kind of have a better idea of, give them a reason behind your answer.
yeah. Do you have a preference on either style, color, and then also pattern? Like, what are your favorite go-tos? If it was like your choice, like if it was your creative choice.
Right now, I'm like all about like adding color to your life. Make
Yeah,
it vibrant, make it like unique. Do what you love because it's like your space. I know a lot of people value like what other people are going to think about it because they're going to post about it and then they're going to get those responses. But it's
sure.
like this is going to be your space. So do what you love, do some color, do some texture, like do something like vibrant and out there. So that's why I just did my bathroom with like pink, and
Yeah.
there's pink everywhere and there's blue everywhere. Normally I wouldn't do, if I was going to sell my house right away, but we're going to live here for a little bit, so might as well do something we're going to love every day, and we love it. We go in there, we're like, holy crap, I can't believe this is
Yeah.
this is our bathroom.
I love that when you make it feel like your home. Not everybody looks at it like this, but sometimes people look at their house as an investment property type thing where that,
Yeah,
like you said,
yeah.
most people moves every 7 years. Is that like an actual stat? Is that a
I've heard that before. It's
okay?
always changing, but
Sure.
at one point,
So
yeah.
there's a period where there's an average statistic where people might move from house to house. To me, it's like, man, I'm trying to stay in this house forever. If I can help it, like I would love to stay here
Right,
because the work that we did with you, we chose that for us. Like we wanted
right.
that specifically for us. Like we weren't thinking, oh, what will the next buyer think about? Even though maybe parts of it is like important, but
Yeah,
like if you're living
yeah,
there,
it's tough.
hopefully it's something that you're choosing because you like it.
Hmm.
Yeah. When did you decide to like take the show on the road and go solo? Like when did you decide I'm going to be like a business owner?
4 or 5 years ago, when I was working with somewhat of a business partner, and that's kind
Hmm.
of why I didn't stay there, is because that person didn't see me as a partner and I did. I was like, well, I want to be in that position, where this is my pride and joy. So that's when I was like, all right, like I can start my own thing and have that. It was definitely the right decision because being in that role and being even more prideful about my work was
Yeah.
just, it was amazing, just being in that position.
Were there any challenges when you decided to make that move? What did it take to start your own business? Because I mean, I'm sure there's like getting the LLC and then like find your own clients. How was that first year or so just trying to get going?
Oh man, there was a lot to that year. I think that was COVID. I think that was 2021,
Okay.
or right around there, right at the end of 2020. It was a big thing. We just bought our first house, so we had a mortgage payment to go take responsibility of. Yeah, it was unknown how much money we were going to make and how successful it was going to be. It felt not as big of a hurdle to me as it would, I think, most people because I did have my LLC already and my insurance from knowing long term before I did leave that was a for sure possibility that
Hmm.
might be coming up. And
Yeah.
there was bouncing back and forth between W-2 and 1099 with that company I was with. And just the type of industry that I'm in, construction, finding like those types of jobs like quick isn't anything crazy. It can happen. And that's what I was doing before I was with that company. So it wasn't anything foreign to me either. It was just telling my partner that I'm very confident in this and
Yeah.
we can do this. That was one of the bigger hurdles.
Gotcha. Remind me if I remember this correctly. You're a licensed builder?
Yeah.
What does
Yep.
that mean? Like what does that entail?
There's definitely like a couple different definitions that someone might tell you.
Mm-hmm.
The state of Michigan will tell you that a licensed builder is someone who's licensed to do work for homeowners. And then most homeowners might tell you that a licensed builder is someone who can build you a home. So
Oh, like a home builder. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's where we kind of like have two different, views on it. And obviously the state's definition is the definition of it. You're validating contractors to verify that they know information that will not negatively impact a bunch of homeowners. It is there to protect homeowners and make sure that they're able to look up the code and then also to know the laws of operating with homeowners and then with the code.
Yeah.
So that's the basics of it. There is that other side of it where it really enables you to build homes because you do need it to build homes, and then overall you don't necessarily need it to work with homeowners, but by the state's rules you do need it to do a job for over $600 with homeowners. But there's so many people out there who aren't licensed builders who are doing plenty of work for homeowners and things are going good. So I mean that's
Sure.
why it's not too enforced.
Sure. It's kind of like what's the difference between DIY, someone who's just really good
Yeah.
at DIYs, but okay,
Right.
I see. But that makes, I mean, having that license gives some legitimacy to the business that you're
Yeah.
trying to build. And I'm sure that was intentional because as you keep growing, I think the bigger jobs, your clients are going to be like, are you licensed and are you insured?
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
the big
Oh yeah.
things. Yeah.
I get that a lot now.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, that's a good sign.
Yeah. No, it is. I'm always happy to hear that question because I can be like, yes, absolutely. Like I'm invested in doing these projects for you.
I mean, you're working with power tools. There's relative danger involved. So you don't want
Hmm.
someone in your home getting hurt as a
No, definitely
contractor
not.
and them not being insured. That's like an
Yeah.
important. I mean, I'm hoping that nobody gets hurt, but it's like you have to have that stuff in place.
Oh, absolutely.
Something I noticed about you specifically, in general, and I'm painting with really broad strokes, brush strokes right now. It's really hard to find a good contractor. As a client, calling a bunch of people, just looking online, calling them, trying to get them to walk through the house, feeling their vibe, seeing if it's like a good fit. It's just really tough. I'm assuming a lot of people feel this way. What I noticed about you and your approach is that one, you were responsive. I think I like messaged you on Instagram. I was like, hey, we have this idea, wondering what your process is. And then you were like, are you free tomorrow? I think I
Yeah.
remember you're just like ready.
Right.
You were ready to walk because
Oh
you knew
yeah.
how important kind of like that first impression is.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people I'll call and I hear back for a week. I know sometimes like a client can be demanding, but sometimes that first impression is so important. And we can keep talking about how awesome you are
Yeah, let's do it.
as a contractor, but I'm just wondering what your mindset is with the customer service side of things, because you have the builder side and like the contractor side of things. The other part of your business is making sure your clients are happy. Where do you see that fitting in your like business?
So that is definitely an evolving piece of my business, always trying to improve that side of things. But the main thing is just treating that individual, that client, like exactly how I would expect the ideal builder to treat me. Anytime like a question arises of like, how should I respond to this? Like, when should I respond to this? And it's just always comes back like, how would I want that to come to me, always trying to be on top of it. Like you said, first impressions are huge. I mean,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Like when they come to me, like when with their project, you know, it definitely leaves an impression on me on how I think the rest of it is going to go. So I definitely see that when I react to them in my first message and when I'm going to get out there, because you know,
Yeah.
they usually never turn out well if I come out a month after you hit me up, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Right.
It gets forgotten.
Sure.
So I want to be, you know, quick, responsive, kind, and just, you know, exactly how I would expect, you know, want to be treated as well.
Another thing that I remembered, you were really patient. We did like a bunch of walkthroughs. You sent us a bunch of quotes. And then we were just kind of put on a holding pattern because we were just deciding what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me going, "Oh man, I haven't given this guy an update. I feel bad." And it's really because like sometimes you get the quote and now you have to sit with it as a homeowner.
Yeah.
You have to sit with it for
Right.
a while. What I noticed that like when we reached back out again, it was the same amount of like response time. And it
Nice.
wasn't like it was about time, guys. You know, like
Yeah.
there was no guilt tripping or anything of like, hey, are
Right.
you guys gonna do? You know, I felt really good in that, like, oh, Abe understands that it takes time for this things, and he's just even if the first meeting doesn't go anywhere right away, it's a seed that you've planted. I'm sure you do that with a lot of people. Like, who knows
Oh yeah.
when those seeds are gonna start growing? Like a year from now, 2 years from now, two people are gonna hit you
Yeah.
up from years ago.
No, absolutely. I've definitely had a couple clients where I've gone to their house and met with them and quoted them, and then a year later, that's when we did the project. So it's definitely I definitely understand and can relate to where people are at. It's a big decision. It's something you want to give time to,
Mm-hmm.
and not rush. So I'm all there for that. You know.
Yeah. Do you build that in? Like, say, obviously, if people book jobs right away, like after a walkthrough or whatever, and you send a quote and
Hmm.
they're like, okay, let's book it. I guess how far out are you planning this kind of stuff when you're doing these walkthroughs? Like, when do you tell them you're available? Is it just like the next available opening or first come first serve? Like, how do you manage the workflow there?
Yeah, that's definitely something I have dropped the ball on a couple times. I have done well in some periods. Moving across the state threw a factor in there as well with scheduling and everything. But generally, it's first come, first serve. I just let people know when my last job is going to be ending. If you'd like to book, you know, that's where you're going to end up at. If we get done earlier, you'll be earlier. If we get done later, unfortunately, we have to like push it back a little bit, but
Yeah.
usually I factor in like a week between jobs so that doesn't happen. So usually, you know, I don't ever have to like be pushing people back. The issue is that I didn't book enough work so that, you know, I have gaps in the schedule to fill. And that's why the house in Grand Rapids worked out so well, is that every time that happened, I was my best client. You know, I would work on my
Mm,
house and renovated the whole thing for over the course of 3 years. I didn't have any downtime where I wasn't, you know, making money because I would, you know, pay myself to work on my house, and it paid off because I sold it. You know, it would be a
right.
different story if I didn't sell it.
Sure.
I would have a lot of capital locked up in that property. But
Right.
that's one of the things that has helped me out in that area. But now that I'm not on a property that I'm going to be selling soon, I'm working with that, and it's been a little bit of a challenge lately. Just move across state and find a bunch of consistent work
Yeah.
at the price that makes sense, because there's work out there if you go low enough, but that's definitely a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, especially with your type of specialized work. You don't want to water down like that quality that you're able to offer and the
Yeah.
service that you're able to offer. Because what I find is just like when you find a good person to work with, the hope is to just continue working with them
Yeah.
forever. We were so bummed when you moved.
I know. I was too. I was like, I
But
got
I
so
mean,
many good clients.
yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Like you've mentioned it. Like since we've known each other, I think your plan was always to try to move to the other side of the state. So it makes sense that
Yeah.
during downtimes, your house was a bit of the investment property that we were talking about. So you were
Yeah.
trying to get it to a place where, whenever you're able to make that move, you're gonna get as much value of it out of it as possible. Okay, so this is a fun question. How do you deal with clients who don't know what they want?
Oh man, I feel like there's a certain amount of like each client doesn't know what they want, and we just gotta work together to get to that point to where we can come to a decision. But with clients who like really don't know anything that they want, I usually just recommend like you should hire a designer and
Mm,
get you to the point to where I can come on board and be of the best service. And I can do free design services, but they're not going to be as good as, a full-time designer, and they're not going to be on paper or on draft. They're just going to be, look at this link to this tile. That's what I'm thinking of using, or this paint color. So I can get you there, and it's usually, I design my own bathrooms and kitchens and stuff, and a lot of people like it. But yeah, it's just not going to be something that it can be in front of that client and they can visualize. And for a lot of people, that is what they need. For me and some other people, it's just find the materials, pick out the materials, and you can just do a Pinterest board, and then we can go from there.
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that's the hardest part is being able to visualize. And I'm sure there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that are just like, I don't know exactly what I want. I just don't want this.
Hmm.
Like whatever this is,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Right.
Like, change it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
That one client that I said that took a year to actually book me and go through with it, that's where they were at. They just weren't ready for me to be there.
Mm.
They were at the stage where they needed a designer, and that's the route they went. They got a designer, they got everything figured out, and then they called me back a year later, and we banged out their whole bathroom, and
Oh,
it turned out great. It was a great bathroom, and you could definitely tell that, it was planned out before starting.
that's beautiful. Have you ever had a client where they just kind of let you have free reign on like the design part of it, where you were kind of both design and install?
My fiance,
There you
on our
go.
house, she was
Yeah.
like, "Do your thing. Like, let's just get this done and get me out of this construction zone." So that was the one client where I had total control over everything, and that was nice. It worked out really well, and everything got done like pretty quickly that way, not having to confirm things between multiple people.
For that, like for your house, how did you decide on like a specific style? Say for the bathroom job, because you had like wallpaper, you
Yeah.
had really fun tile. How did you get that inspiration?
For this one with the wallpaper and the fun stuff, that was my fiance. She just said, "I just want a little bit of pink. I want color in there." And then I went to town with everything else. I had, pink on one wall of the shower and some white, so it's not like too pink. And then I found a cool wallpaper. But for the other house in Grand Rapids that I designed and renovated kind of all on my own, I just did kind of what I was seeing in like the best selling houses on Zillow. So it was like whites, grays,
Mm,
blacks, and like
okay.
somewhat of blues. So we did that with the whole house. It was a white house, black roof, black shutters, white walls. Some of them were like slightly grayish blue, and then like blue cabinets in the kitchen, white everything else, quartz, backsplash, walls, and then same with the bathrooms, just white, blacks, wood accents, and blue. So we just kept that whole theme throughout the whole house, and that was because that's what we were seeing on some of the better houses that were selling on Zillow.
Wow. And that really maximized, you think, when you sold it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we were able to get like a general appeal from most people, and we didn't get too unique in the design to where like some people were like, I'm just not vibing with it. I think just like everyone was like, this is nice. This is like, I know this is nice.
Yeah. I think it's really cool now that it sounds like you're settling into this house and you're
Hmm.
making it more your own. So you have plans to stay there for a little while. I think that's really cool to hear because it's kind of like when you hear about a doctor who doesn't take care of themselves or
Yeah.
whatever. I imagine like some builders doing construction work all day, they don't want to do that in their house,
Yep.
so they're just kind of gets left behind.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of cool that you have that energy to still build like an atmosphere within not a house but your home,
Yeah.
which is the key difference.
I love it. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I'm always like trying to start the next project and get it to a point where I can enjoy it every day and not have to like look at something that's falling apart or
Yeah.
that's neglected.
Right. What is something that you're currently working on to get better at?
Yeah, it doesn't really connect to, my craft of tile, but
That's
I'm
fine. Yeah.
actually working on like financial literacy,
Okay.
making sure that I'll always be in a stable position. And I guess it does connect a little bit because like the more I get like stable in my finances, the more I can do like these pieces of artwork because
Mm.
the more I get behind, like this stuff can never happen because I have to just like keep going to work every day. But
Yeah.
studying, my investment, my IRA, and just like studying the market and watching how things evolve and flow and just trying to be on top of those things to where I can put myself in the position to where I can really work on my craft all day.
Yeah.
That's the goal, you
I
know.
love that. Yeah. So then you're not like, you don't feel like you're clocking in just because you have to like
Yeah.
pay the bills. You're trying to thrive a little bit so you could be an artist, which is
Yeah,
ultimately what you
exactly.
what I'm sensing is that you see yourself less of a builder but more of an artist. Like if you
Oh
had it
yeah.
your way, it's like this is my artwork right here.
hmm Yeah. No, I would definitely work on art all day if I could, but being a builder, pays the bills.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That flew by.
Okay.
We'll need to do another one at some point and talk about your next few projects or something like that because I know,
Heck yeah.
dude, you're like you do everything because you're also a real
Yeah.
estate agent now too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I got to. I saved a lot of money by being a real estate agent for myself just from moving,
Yeah.
selling a house and buying a house. It was totally
Yeah.
worth it.
So you're gonna have like this whole like the whole process of this like home ownership to like selling to moving. You're gonna have a moving
Yeah.
company, like
Oh yeah.
because you've done it all. And guess what? It all started from raking leaves.
Absolutely. 100%. I always refer back to that story of breaking leaves for $10 an hour.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool, man. That's a cool story. And I'm glad that you shared that.
I'm here to share more stories.
All right, we'll do. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Craft Talk. We'll catch you next time. Bye. Nice. Dude,
Perfect.
that was fun.